Experts said do not do a marathon in 30 days. So what did I do? I jumped in. So I want to share with you some of the learnings I had, because what I got from it, I think, is universal truths and principles that apply to all of us as human beings, given that we are willing to do the work and step into the consciousness that is needed and become who we need to become in order to actually create the results that translate as they did for me jumping into a marathon plan. So let me pause for just a minute. I definitely was doing 8 to 12 mile weeks leading up to the 30-day plan, but in relative terms to anybody who does endurance, it's not that much. I mean, we're talking like 30 to 40 miles a month. Not that much, but relative to somebody who hasn't done anything, it's definitely a lot. And so this is why I think it's actually important to pay attention to ourselves and see what our intuition says and be able to trust ourselves and our gut, rather than relying and outsourcing our power to what experts say, what people who qualify and have more experience or whatever. So I think there's some validity to that, and there's also some truth to that it can be useful and potent, that supports people, but also there's no reason to put ourselves in a box because somebody says this is the way it's done and this is what's possible and what is not possible, because I actually don't believe that there is such things as limitations when it comes to things that we can conceive and the things that we believe that we're able to do. But of course, it's going to require work, and it's require us to transform ourselves and become a different version of ourselves and to test things and go through trials and all the things. But for those of you who are here just to hear the marathon plan, the marathon time that I did it in 3 hours, 41 minutes and 10 seconds, which translates to 8 minutes, 27 second miles. So that's what I did for the pace, total out at 26.2 miles. I ended up in the top 20%. So here's my learnings. I ended up in the top 20% in all my categories. So my age bracket, my male category that I fell into, the overall percentage of athletes that were doing it, etc. So my thought is, again, look at this to the lens of how is this something that you can take in and is useful for you, but I'm going to speak in terms of the things that I learned for myself. So jumping into a 30-day plan and actually having the layout of what every day looks like leading up to the end result that I wanted to create, and being able to back into that plan and know that it made sense, gave me the power of not having to think through the morning of, the week of, etc., of what are the things that I need to do in order to actually accomplish this result. So a proven thing that supported me with backing into how do I actually get to this end result of running a marathon in 30 days. So what it ended up being was about 165 or so miles over the 30-day period, starting with the very first day being a 7-mile run, the second day being a 15-mile run. Within a week, I was doing a 20-mile run, and I think there was like a 5-mile, a 6-mile, a 5-mile, and then it's a 20-mile run. So that totaled at 20 or 21 runs over the course of 30 days, equaling about 165 miles, which is so insane, because the best previous time that I had done, best previous mileage I had done, was probably like in the 70s. And that was when I was training for a half Ironman a couple of years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago maybe. So I doubled the number, if not 2.5 times it. So all that to say, it's all about having a strategy and a plan that you know that can get you to the results, and then of course backing into it, not having to think through all the things that you need to do. Some other things that I realized that supported me was, I've learned this in multiple races, is the visualization of what are the possibilities that things could happen and come up that I don't train for, that I am not anticipating, something that creates high emotions, high intensity, that takes most people out, what people would call pressure. I see it being a high level of emotions where we make rash decisions and we're in that fight or flight mode, and that can really sabotage our efforts in anything that we're doing. So I thought through what are the challenges that could potentially come up on the race day, which are, I experienced a cramp on the hill at the 20+ mile mark. I could want to slow down or walk. So I could not have enough nutrition for myself. I could not have potentially water or hydration when I need it. So I thought through all these, got the hydration, got some extra nutrition prepared. So that's eliminated, and then if I do experience those things, those pains or those moments of wanting to walk or whatever, I've already thought it through and I already have my go-to of, okay, this is how I respond to it. Rather than the fight or flight mode, you haven't thought it through and you make a rash decision and it takes you out, or it costs you, or whatever could happen. Some other things that I got, tracking every single day, having a visual representation of what's happening in front of me at multiple times throughout the day, not just in a book, not just on the computer where I could see it only if I pulled it up, but having it at the forefront of, oh yeah, like I like it's a continual reminder, an energy attractor, a thing to give energy to, a thing to put the focus and attention on, to remind you, to keep you in that energy and that momentum of the results that you're already creating, and also to be connected to the feedback. Like, is it working? Is it not working? Am I skipping race exercises? Blah, blah, blah. So that was something, of course, that is so useful and supportive. And then there's a handful of other things that really did make the difference. That is twofold. Going back to some of the things that I said earlier, it's about the trusting of yourself and where you're at in the moment, but you've got to be able to build the confidence and the courage in yourself and some other ways of being that are important to be able to actually step into this. I think for most people, which is, I was able to trust myself. You know, I talked to somebody who I trust in terms of endurance world that has had a very successful career, and he's reminding me, you know, make sure to pace yourself at the beginning, because it is common for a lot of runners to come out the gates and expend a lot of energy, and then they're drained or they hit walls or all of these things, right? And so I was pacing at actually a really good pace, better than I had anticipated, and I was like, my immediate thought was I probably should slow down, but then I thought, no, I'm gonna give it my all, and I'm gonna just go for it and keep this pace, because right now, based on how I'm feeling, I think I can do this. Now, I don't know, but I did trust my intuition on that. I did trust my body, what I thought was true, and just decided to go for it. And mentally, I was prepared for it, whatever I came up against anyways, but I was like, you know, I'm here, and who does a 30-day marathon plan, so might as well just freaking go for it, right? So that, and then that also ties back into what experts will say in terms of anything. You know, there's a lot of people who will filter information and even their knowledge or experiences based on their beliefs and on their thoughts and what they've been told and how they've been raised and what they believe is true and not true and what's possible and not possible. And some of that may be correct for them, but just because it's correct for them doesn't necessarily mean it has to be correct for you and true for you. Now, again, I am one who says you're a sovereign individual and don't outsource your power. Find your edge, find what's possible and true for you. Because there was a time in the past that somebody told a guy named Roger Bannister that it was physically impossible for a human to run a 4-minute mile. And he tried and he tried and he tried and he finally did it. And, you know, over the years after that, hundreds of people ended up becoming 4-minute milers. And now it's actually pretty freaking common for you to go to a school and have kids that are running that, to go to colleges that are easily that's happening. And so that's the reminder of, you know, people are going to have their beliefs and their limitations on what they believe, but let's not let that dictate to us what is or what not possible. And of course, be smart about it, but there's no limitations. So I hope you got a lot from this, and I am looking forward to my future self watching this and being the reminder, and also seeing, you know, what I have chosen to endeavor on. And instead of doing a 30-day plan and being in the top 20%, what's possible with a 60 and a 90-day plan, and what kind of result can I make regarding that? And again, that is true for you.